What if two ordinary foods could become a much more interesting combination simply by eating them together? Not because they're miracle foods, but because they can deliver different nutrients and natural compounds in the same meal. And as you get older, that can become especially interesting when it comes to brain health, healthy aging, and better sleep. Today, we're looking at three simple food combinations you can easily add to your routine. We'll start with two foods that are already well known for their nutritional value. One is rich in powerful plant compounds, the other provides healthy fats and plant based omega 3s. Then we'll move to a breakfast pairing. That brings together choline, DHA, and EPA, three nutrients your brain uses in very different ways. But don't skip the final one, because the last combination may be the most unexpected of all. It starts with a deep red nighttime drink that researchers have been studying for its potential connection to sleep and what you pair with it. That's where things get really interesting. I'll show you what the research actually suggests, how these foods can fit into a normal diet, and simple ways to prepare them without expensive supplements or complicated recipes. Because healthy aging isn't always about adding more foods to your diet. Sometimes it's about putting the right foods together. So let's start with the first combination, two everyday foods with a surprisingly interesting connection to brain health. Now, let's move to another evening pairing. That combines two very different nutrient profiles, blueberries and walnuts. At first, they may seem like two completely different foods, but that's exactly what makes them interesting. Blueberries bring one group of brain-friendly plant compounds. Walnuts bring healthy fats and plant-based omega 3s. Let's start with the blueberries. That deep blue-purple color isn't just what makes them look appealing. It's a clue that blueberries are rich in natural compounds called anthocyanins. These belong to a larger family of polyphenols that researchers have been studying for their potential effects on brain health, blood vessels, and healthy aging. And after 60, there's an important reason this matters. Your brain is constantly dependent on a reliable supply of blood. Tiny blood vessels throughout the brain deliver the oxygen and nutrients your brain cells need to function. That's why taking care of your cardiovascular health can also be an important part of supporting healthy brain aging. And there's some interesting human research behind blueberries. In a 2023 randomized controlled trial, researchers studied 61 healthy adults between 65 and 80 years old. For 12 weeks, participants consumed either wild blueberry powder or a placebo. The blueberry group showed improvements in vascular function, along with improvements in certain measures of cognitive performance, including immediate recall and task switching accuracy. Of course, blueberries aren't a miracle memory food, and this single study doesn't prove they'll prevent memory loss. But the findings are encouraging, especially because the study involved adults between 65 and 80. Now comes the other half of this pairing, walnuts. They bring a completely different nutritional profile to the table. They're rich in unsaturated fats and contain alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, a plant-based omega 3 fatty acid. They also provide polyphenols and several other nutrients. So you're combining two nutrient-dense foods that approach healthy aging from different nutritional angles. And here's a simple way to bring them together. Instead of having blueberries at one time and walnuts at another, you can turn them into a creamy evening smoothie. Add about 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries to a blender. Then add a small handful of plain unsalted walnuts, about half a cup of unsweetened plain yogurt, and a little water or unsweetened milk. Blend until smooth and creamy. And that's it. You have a simple blueberry and walnut smoothie. That can fit into an overall healthy evening routine. Next, let's move to a breakfast combination that brings together two nutrients your brain uses in very different ways. Scrambled eggs with salmon. At first, it sounds like a simple breakfast, but nutritionally, there's an interesting reason. This pairing deserves attention. The egg provides choline, a nutrient involved in memory-related brain signaling. The salmon provides DHA and EPA, omega-3 fats, closely connected with the structure and function of your brain. And when we're talking about healthy brain aging, getting both from the same meal is especially interesting. Let's start with the eggs. The yolk is naturally rich in choline, which your body uses to produce acetylcholine, a chemical messenger involved in memory and learning. And there is some human research behind this connection. In a 2023 randomized double-blind study, adults between 60 and 80 received egg yolk-derived choline for 12 weeks. The researchers found improvements in measures of verbal memory compared with the control group. Now, this was a relatively small study, and it doesn't prove that eating eggs will improve your memory. But it gives us an interesting reason to pay attention to choline as we get older. And here's where the salmon comes in. Salmon provides DHA and EPA, two long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that have been extensively studied for their relationship with brain health. DHA is particularly interesting because it's one of the major structural fats found in the brain. So researchers have naturally asked an important question. Could getting more omega-3s help protect memory and cognitive function as we age? The answer is a little more complicated. Some research is encouraging. For example, one randomized trial in older adults with mild cognitive impairment found that DHA-rich fish oil was associated with improvements in several measures of memory. But other large trials involving cognitively healthy older adults haven't consistently found that omega-3 supplements improve cognitive performance. Here's how to make it. Start with 1 or 2 eggs and scramble them gently in a pan. Then add a small portion of cooked salmon, either freshly prepared or leftover from an earlier meal. And if you want to take the meal one step further, add a handful of spinach or another vegetable for additional nutrients and fiber. And now, let's finish with a nighttime combination that brings sleep into the picture. Tart cherry juice and pumpkin seeds. You probably think of cherries as a sweet fruit, but tart cherries are different. They're naturally rich in anthocyanins, the plant compounds responsible for their deep red color. They also naturally contain a small amount of melatonin, and that combination becomes especially interesting as we get older, because 2 things matter more than many people realize: how well you sleep and how well your body handles everyday oxidative and inflammatory stress. Think about the last time you had a really bad night's sleep. You wake up foggy. Your concentration isn't quite what it normally is. Maybe you walk into another room and suddenly think, why did I come in here? It can feel unsettling. But one bad night doesn't mean your memory is failing. The bigger concern is when poor or disrupted sleep becomes a regular pattern. That's because your brain isn't simply turned off while you're sleeping. Sleep plays an important role in recovery, learning, memory, and restoration, helping you feel mentally and physically refreshed the next day. And this is where tart cherry juice gets really interesting. Its anthocyanins and other polyphenols have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties and may help the body manage oxidative stress. But there's another piece of the puzzle: melatonin. Your body naturally produces melatonin as part of your sleep-wake rhythm. Think of it as one of the signals telling your body it's time to start winding down, and tart cherries naturally contain some melatonin. Remember, Healthy aging isn't about one miracle food. It's about smart combinations that work together. Choose the foods that fit your routine, enjoy them consistently, and give your body the nutrients it needs. And if you found these combinations helpful, subscribe for more simple, science-backed ways to support your brain, sleep, and healthy aging.